Hello and welcome everybody. Jack Acid with ApexHead.com, bringing you episode 4 of the F1 2013 I Am No Expert Career Mode series, and Team Lotus hoping for a P10 finish here in qualifying, here in very dry conditions. A welcome sight after the last two races here in Bahrain. So as you can see, able to escape into Q3 with no problem, able to improve our time. Of course, I wouldn't end up with a P1 time there, but it was certainly good enough to get into Q3. So now decision time. Do I go out and use up more of my tires to try and improve my position or stay in? If you've watched the last couple of races, most notably the last race in China, you know that the tire wear has been a huge struggle for me to learn early on here. So I've decided to actually keep the fresh set of tires and not go out at all, and just start in P10 and hope to get that P7 finish. Time will tell if that gamble pays off. Taking a look at our race strategy, you can see running a cautious fuel load, which is different from the first few races in which I ran normal, so we'll find out if there's any big differences here in F1 2013. Taking a quick look at the starting grid as we get lined up here. Sebastian Vettel on pole position, and once again the Mercedes lined up behind him. This time Nico Rosberg in front of Lewis Hamilton, Fernando Alonso in P4. Our teammate qualifying in P6, and Nico Hülkenberg qualifying in P8. And again, we're in P10, and taking a look at the middle of the grid, Adrian Sutil and Paul di Resta lined up in 12 and 13 spots. And I could be mistaken, but I'm just noticing that I believe I've lined up behind Jenson Button and Nico Hülkenberg for the last 3 races in a row. So I'm not sure if there's something going on with the AI or what. But here we are to start, and you can see that Sergio Perez not wasting any time shooting by us with ease. And here comes the Force India cars coming down into turn 1. And narrowly avoiding the side of Sergio Perez there as we come around turn 1, trying to get our grip back. There goes Perez again. And very aggressive move by Jenson Button, bumping us offline there. Now down into P10 as the field accelerates out and trying to fend off Bottas and the Williams. Let's see if we can get a couple of those positions back without any contact. Getting in front of both of McLaren's coming around here, and now almost wheel-to-wheel with Mark Webber coming out of the exit. And able to fall in behind the Red Bull and get up into P7. Now trying to chase down Webber through turns 6 and 7. A very challenging sequence for myself. And let's see if we can make a move on Webber. Coming down here into turn 8, a very tricky corner and a little bit too fast coming around, but no contact with the Red Bull. Let's see if we can beat him up the hill. And sure enough, we are clear of him. That wasn't the cleanest looking overtake I've ever seen, but of course I'll take it. Now coming down into the dreaded turn 10, and contact from behind, not with myself, but with the cars behind us. And that actually helps our gaps just a bit as we come through the first DRS zone on the circuit, but of course that's not unable to tell lap 3. But a very, very promising start here up into P6, coming around turn 11, and losing my grip on the curb now and sliding into the wall, and there goes my front wing, and my left front tires punctured, losing a couple of spots there. And going to be losing a lot more as I try and regain my composure coming around. I do have to let these cars by, just do not have any kind of a pace, almost coming into the back of Mark Webber. And trying to let these cars around, rolling up over the curb and now being swarmed, and trying to make my way over to the right-hand side of the track, but you can see holding up traffic, and thankfully no warning from the stewards for blocking. But this is an obvious disaster as we come near the end of lap 1, trying to give myself too much room, and I'm cutting off the chicane basically to avoid contact. And we are going to have to pit here at the end of lap 1, dropping all the way down into 22nd position. You can see there's a couple other cars in the pit as well. And in addition to the front wing, going to have to get my tires changed as well. So my fresh set of option tires that I was so happy to be starting off on, not running in Q3, basically completely squandered as I'm put out on the prime tires, and that undoubtedly means that I'm going to have to pit later in the race, and hopefully I'll just be able to make up as much time as I can to try and salvage something from this race. But as you can see here, not able to get around the cars coming out of the chute, and we are going to resume in P22, and with almost a full race length to go, we're going to have it all to do. So here at the start of lap 3, trying to get caught up with Nico Hülkenberg in the Sauber, who's languishing down in P21, and hoping to gain some ground on the field as the pit stops shake out. Trying to make a move on Hülkenberg coming down here into turn 1. Not enough room and taking out the cone. Very ugly overtake, but did not want to get held up for another sector, if not worse. So now here at the start of lap 4, you can see overtaking a car in the pit, and we are up into P20. And fortunately, you can see a handful of cars up ahead, coming around turn 1 and getting a yellow flag. And there's Charles Peak in the middle of the circuit. Something happened, and the safety car has been deployed. So for the second time in 4 races, the safety car making another appearance, overtaking 3 cars here in the pit lane. And so the frequency of the safety car very evident here in F1 2013, realistically too, not even in wet conditions. So now the safety car is in, and we are trying to get caught up with Felipe Massa. Never really had a chance to cinch up the gaps during the safety car deployment. I'm not sure how that happened, but we won't complain about P16. And only 3 cars pit during the safety car there, so many of them wanting to stay out a little bit longer on those tires. And let's see if we can get around Felipe Massa. And yes, we do, coming around turn 1. Much cleaner overtake than a couple of laps ago. And we are up into P15. Felipe Massa hasn't gone into pit yet. He was someone that I was chasing down during the entire safety car, so he'll be scheduled to come in soon. And contact up ahead, debris all over the track, and now trying to swing around Vandergaard in the Caterham. And we are up into P14, so it looks like he and Gutierrez came into contact. And so now locked in on the Sauber as we come through these S-sweeps. And Gutierrez slowing down very dramatically now, easily overtaking him before we get to the corner. And luck has befallen us, able to gain a couple of positions. Now the cars are coming into pit here in lap 7. Overtaking 3 cars there, and it looks like we'll beat the next one out. And we are able to get around Bottas coming out of the pit lane and trying to track down our teammate Kimi Räikkönen, going a little bit wide, going around turn 1. But let's see if we can get caught up with our teammate here later in the lap, having all kinds of problems at turn 7 into the gravel. Let's see if we lose a position, and we are not going to. Thankfully, still had a little bit of a gap to the Williams behind. But obviously can't make those kinds of mistakes if I expect to have any kind of a strong finish here. So now overtaking even more cars coming out of the pit lane and competing with Fernando Alonso in the Ferrari coming around turn 1. But he's able to escape our clutches for now. Remember, he is on the cold tires coming out of the pits, so let's see if we can take advantage, chasing him down here into turn 4. And going back to that little off I had, turn 7. Have to be also very conscious of the fact that that's going to absolutely make a difference on my tires. Remember, we did pit in lap 2 because of our incident. And so currently on the prime tires and have to make them last as long as I possibly can. If you haven't heard by now, that's the biggest change from F1 2013 is the tire wear. It's much more difficult and precarious, but I actually am really enjoying the challenge. Here as we try and get caught up with the Ferrari, now coming down into a dreaded turn 10. Let's see if we can make a move, and yes, we get around Fernando Alonso. Can we maintain our line? Yes, we do, and overtake the Ferrari. And now activating our DRS to try and get caught up with our teammate. Let's see if Fernando's going to make a move on the inside. Looks like he's not going to have enough time. And we were able to get up into P6, now trying to track down Kimi. And this is the spot where I had the problem on lap 2. You can see being a little more careful this time, definitely more conscious of it. And here comes Fernando Alonso on the inside. He's not going to be able to get around. Able to trim off some of our sector time and take a pretty good exit through there. And it's time for a straight line speed test. Let's see if Fernando Alonso is able to gain some ground coming down the straight. The Lotus is typically pretty good in a straight line. Now turning down our fuel mix. I did run the cautious fuel strategy, and so far I'm enjoying it, but going to go ahead and save that extra lap of fuel for later in the race. But going back to the speed test, you can see Fernando Alonso not really a threat here at the start of lap 9. And let's see if we can gain some ground on us now. We're actually catching up with Kimi. And let's see if we can make a move coming down into turn 1. Yes, we do, and actually cheating a little bit on the curb, that's for sure. Now coming around the second turn, and contact with Kimi. And Kimi has spun out. We made contact coming out of turn 2, no penalty. And I think Kimi had a little too much speed, and he spun out. Unfortunate for sure, but still maintaining P4 here at the start of lap 10, but now being threatened by Fernando Alonso and Sergio Perez in the McLaren. And it's a 3-pony race coming down into turn 1, and able to escape being overtaken by both cars there. But now here at the start of lap 12, you can see still running a P4 position, and have to check on our tires in just a minute. But first we've got to deal with Fernando Alonso, who's finally able to overtake us coming down into turn 1. Let's see if we can outbrake him. And this is a familiar scene, this time taking out the pylon. Very active corner here at turn 1. Obviously one of the key places to overtake, similar to Malaysia, which I have heard they're going to patch in terms of slow AI coming around the corner. Or maybe it's China, it's one of the two. I think it's Malaysia. Has extremely slow AI at turn 1. So now, here nearing the end of lap 12, the big debate, do we go in for tires or not? And believe it or not, I think I'm going to stay out. We have 2 laps to go. And looking at the times here right now, Fernando Alonso looks like he's going to compete on the inside, but he's not able to get around us. And I just do not think that it's worth losing the positions to go into pit, because my tires, again, are holding up surprisingly well. Remember, we pit in lap 2, so they're definitely getting very close to blood red, but not quite there yet, and we're still shaving off some of our time. And not getting a lot of squirreliness as we come out of the exits, and there you can see how orange they are, but again, not that bad, so no reason to go in after all. And what was thought to be a curse on the race ends up being a blessing of all things, as we're able to stay out on the prime tires for the entire duration of the race, short of the first lap, and get a P4 finish. So obviously the best result on the season, and extremely happy with that. Our teammate finishing in P9, but did not expect that, that's for sure. Taking a look at the race results here, Sebastian Vettel winning the race, and no real surprises here, although the McLaren's finishing pretty high. Paul di Resta there in P11, and Felipe Massa finishing in P16. Might have been caught out by the safety car, something ruined his race, but we're certainly happy with our result. Definitely a very strange race, but memorable all the same, and better than my race last year when I was disqualified coming into contact with Daniel Ricciardo in the pit lane. That was a very strange race too. So who knows, maybe it has something to do with the sands or the heat here at Bahrain. Want to thank you guys for taking the time to watch this video. I hope you have enjoyed it. Feel free to leave me suggestions, comments, or feedback. And I want to welcome you to join me at the next episode in Spain at Catalunya, and hopefully continue to build a foundation for a very surprising title run. Getting ahead of myself? We'll find out. Until the next one, thanks again.